The Cowboys aren't done reshaping their coaching staff, not even close. After the latest hires, league sources say Dallas is quietly lining up multiple additions that could dramatically change how this team prepares, develops talent, and calls games in 2026. Some moves are expected, but one potential hire is already raising eyebrows inside the NFL. While fans think the offseason chaos is slowing down, the opposite might be happening behind the scenes. Why is Jerry Jones moving this fast? Who's next on the list? And how could these hires impact Dak, the defense, and the draft strategy? This coaching shakeup is far from over. The Dallas Cowboys coaching staff is not done yet, and if you thought the moves we've already seen were the final pieces, think again, because behind the scenes there is a lot happening that fans aren't fully connecting yet. The Cowboys are quietly but aggressively reshaping their coaching structure, and everything points to more hirings coming very soon. This is not just routine off-season shuffling. This feels calculated, strategic, and honestly, a little bit overdue. Over the last few weeks, we've heard whispers, leaks, and subtle confirmations that Dallas is expanding its coaching search beyond the obvious names. And that alone tells you something important. When a team only replaces one or two coaches, that usually means they're patching holes. When a team keeps adding voices, adding experience, and adding specialists, that signals a deeper realization that the system itself needs refinement. The Cowboys front office seems to understand that talent alone hasn't been enough, and that's a huge admission for a franchise that's always believed its roster could win it all. One of the biggest things to understand here is that coaching changes don't always start with flashy announcements. They often begin with quiet interviews, internal evaluations, and conversations with people across the league. Dallas has been doing exactly that. League sources have indicated that the Cowboys have reached out to multiple former coordinators, position coaches, and even a few analytics-driven assistants who specialize in situational football. That alone should get fans excited, because situational football has been one of Dallas' biggest weaknesses for years. Think about it. Third downs, red zone efficiency, late game clock management, playoff adjustments. These are areas where coaching matters more than raw talent, and these are the exact areas where the Cowboys have consistently come up short. So when you hear that Dallas is looking to bring in more experienced minds to assist with game planning, play sequencing, and in-game decision-making, it's not random. It's intentional. Another key factor here is workload. The Cowboys coaching staff has been stretched thin in recent seasons. When responsibilities pile up on a few coordinators, creativity suffers. Adjustments become slower. And in the NFL, being one step late is the difference between winning and watching the playoffs from home. Adding more coaches isn't just about names, it's about efficiency. It allows each coach to focus on what they do best instead of trying to juggle too many roles. There's also been a noticeable emphasis on development coaches. Dallas knows that it can't rely solely on big contracts and star power. Young players need to take leaps, and that requires coaching continuity and specialization. We're talking about coaches who focus on technique, footwork, film study habits, and mental preparation. These are the kinds of hires that don't make headlines, but completely change the trajectory of a roster over time. What's especially interesting is how these potential hirings align with the Cowboys' recent draft philosophy. Over the past few seasons, Dallas has leaned heavily into drafting athletes with high ceilings. But high ceilings only matter if you have the coaching to unlock them. Bringing in additional assistants who specialize in pass rush development, secondary communication, and offensive line chemistry suggests the Cowboys are finally matching their draft strategy with their coaching investment. And let's talk about the offense for a second. There's been a lot of conversation about play calling, predictability, and tempo. The Cowboys have had stretches where the offense looks unstoppable, and then long periods where it feels completely stuck. That inconsistency often points back to coaching structure rather than player execution. Sources suggest Dallas is considering adding another offensive assistant with a strong background in modern spacing concepts, pre-snap motion, and defensive manipulation. That is huge. The NFL has changed. Defenses are faster, smarter, and more flexible than ever. If your offense isn't evolving weekly, you're falling behind. Dallas seems to recognize that and is actively working to modernize its offensive brain trust without completely blowing things up. That balance is tricky, but if done right, it could be a game changer. On the defensive side, the Cowboys are also exploring additions that focus heavily on discipline and communication. Despite having one of the most talented defensive units in the league, mental errors have cost Dallas at critical moments. Missed assignments, blown coverages, and penalties in high-leverage situations have haunted this team. Adding experienced defensive assistants who emphasize structure, alignment, and situational awareness could drastically reduce those mistakes. Another underrated aspect of these coaching updates is accountability. When you bring in new voices, no one's role is completely safe. Competition isn't just for players, it's for coaches too. That can raise the standard across the entire organization. Coaches push harder, prepare more thoroughly, and innovate more when they know fresh eyes are watching. There's also a cultural shift happening. For years, the Cowboys have been accused of being too comfortable, too loyal, too slow to adapt. These incoming hires suggest that Dallas is at least trying to break that narrative. Whether it works or not remains to be seen, but the effort itself matters. Fans should also pay attention to the timing. The Cowboys aren't rushing these hires. They're taking their time, which suggests they're being selective rather than reactive. That's important. Panic hires usually backfire. Thoughtful hires, even if they take longer, tend to stick. It's also worth noting how this affects players. Veterans often respond positively to experienced coaches who've been through playoff battles and Super Bowl runs. Younger players benefit from detailed instruction and clear expectations. A deeper coaching staff creates clarity, and clarity leads to confidence. Confidence leads to better performance on Sundays. One of the biggest questions fans keep asking is whether these moves will actually matter in January. That's the fair question. The Cowboys have won in the regular season before. What they haven't done is consistently translate that success into postseason victories. Coaching is often the difference in those moments. Adjustments, preparation, mental toughness. These are coach traits. There's also an element of message sending here. By expanding the coaching staff, the Cowboys are telling the locker room that the front office is serious about winning now. Not later. Not eventually. Now. That matters when you're trying to keep stars bought in and hungry. And let's be real. The NFC is not waiting for Dallas to figure things out. Teams around the conference are getting smarter, faster, and more aggressive. Standing still is falling behind. These coaching updates suggest the Cowboys understand that urgency. As more information comes out, expect to hear names that might not be household names but are highly respected around the league. Coaches who've worked under elite coordinators. Coaches who've been part of championship staffs. Coaches who bring fresh perspectives without clashing with the existing system. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes work that doesn't win headlines but builds champions. And while Cowboys fans have every right to be skeptical after years of disappointment, there's also reason to be cautiously optimistic. The approach feels different. More intentional. More modern. The biggest takeaway here is that this isn't about one coach. It's about infrastructure. It's about building a coaching ecosystem that supports players, adapts to opponents, and evolves throughout the season. That's how sustained success is built in today's NFL. More hirings are coming. That's not speculation, that's the direction this is heading. And when those announcements drop, they're going to tell us even more about where this franchise believes it's falling short and how serious it is about fixing those issues. So keep your eyes open. Watch the staff moves just as closely as you watch free agency and the draft. Because sometimes, the most important changes happen on the sidelines, not the stat sheet. If you're a Cowboys fan who's been waiting for real evolution instead of the same old story, these coaching updates might be the most important news of the offseason. And the next few weeks could define whether this team is truly turning a corner or just rearranging the furniture again. Either way, one thing is clear. The Cowboys are not done. Not even close.